Right, well, thank you everyone for tuning in and welcome to Spotlight On. And today I'm very excited to introduce Tommy TikTok, who has taken the internet by storm and has 1.8 million TikTok followers, I think. And
For now.
yeah, I know you haven't added them all yourself because you don't follow many people yourself, so it's clearly organic.
Yeah, no, it's very much organic. Yeah. It's well, being a teacher, it's like the first thing, we have to be very careful online of who we're following and representing that. So yeah, it's very much organic. It's taking its time, but yeah, it's a incredible account. It's to come out of nowhere, and yeah, it's brilliant. I'm really loving it, loving the vibe it's given off to people. So yeah, it's great having so many people be part of the TikTok sort of humor and family and stuff. It's great.
Brilliant. So just tell me a little bit about your educational background of your teaching.
Yeah, no. Well, first off, I just want to say thank you, Lynn, for having me. I feel really honoured to be part of this, and thank you so much for asking me to be here today. So I'm a SEN teacher, special educational needs, and I work in a specialist school in sort of the Norfolk Norwich area. But it's sort of always been in our blood, really. So my dad is a former head teacher, my sister is a current head teacher. So the old Sunday roast chat is just educational, so we're pretty boring.
Brilliant.
And yeah, so I went to Summer Camp America for like 3 summers to see if I really would like working with young people. I mean, if you're sleeping in a tent with like 8 kids and they ask you in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and you can do that for 3 months, then you know that you want to be in education.
Acid test.
Yeah, and then I worked in a primary school in Norwich, and I worked in like a reception class as a teacher assistant, and then I did all the sports while the teachers were doing like their PPE time and all that prep time. And then yeah, back and forth in the States, and then I got a break at this school in Sen, which I'd never done before, and I just loved it. And I started doing some sort of teacher training at a local college, Norwich City College. I did a DETLS course, and it's been fantastic ever since. So yeah, that's kind of my background. And now I am very lucky to be working 2 new courses this year. And one of the courses where we do like construction mechanics and sport and conservation work. And the whole premise is to get students confidence from maybe things that didn't work at certain schools, middle schools, high schools, and take that and take on board their behaviors and whatever traits they're coming with or whatever learning difficulties they come and encouraging them to follow their true pathway, be that vocational or going back into GCSE and A level again. So it's challenging, like all teachers go through, but I absolutely love it. I've got a real passion for it, like I have my TikToks, and yeah, that's my background. I hope that's a short and sweet version anyway.
Brilliant. No, well, I'm an ex-Senko myself, so coming
Oh,
from sort
brilliant.
of the same direction, although I'm from mainstream, so I've always kind of visited specialist provision with kind of a bit of envy because whereas we're kind of pushing
Definitely.
children into where education system thinks that they should be, you guys are actually able to have a little bit more wiggle room to actually think outside the box a bit and do what's best for the individual. So yeah, always been a bit envious of those working in specialist provisions.
I do feel sorry for like some of the high schools, middle schools that come to us, because a lot of parents will say they didn't get this, they didn't get that. They're in a class of 30 where we have them in a group of 8. But I've always say to them, look, it comes down to funding. It comes down to the fact those teachers are so far stretched. Like, how are they meant to differentiate a lesson when you've got 20 students who can do this and 5 can do this and then another 4, and then you've got that one student who has a learning difficulty, which could be quite severe. It's so hard to work with all those different types of students to please everyone. You can't do it. It's impossible. And without being too political, without government funding to help those schools, I feel for them. And then when they come to us like, hey, we can offer everything, don't you worry, we'll catch you, don't worry. But it's easier said than done. And I highly respect all the high schools and the feeder schools that we work with in our local area. They're fantastic and they have a hell of a job. So congrats to all of them. Thanks for what they do. And then we'll take it from there. Don't worry about
Brilliant.
it.
Well, if there's anyone from the government watching, then feel free to plug SEN funding because I think it's on the increase and we certainly need as much of it as we can get. So,
Yeah.
so what prompted you then to start your TikTok channel?
Right. So basically, a few friends said, because I was doing some Facebook Lives one night during lockdown, and I was doing quizzes and just some silly videos with my wife, and everyone was like, Tom, like, have you tried TikTok? I downloaded it and I never really watched anything. And it was back in March of the first lockdown, obviously in 2020. And I was like, all right. And then there was this dance by Blinded by the Lights by The Weeknd. Everybody was doing that, like that. And I was like, oh, I'll give it a go. And then suddenly I post this video on a thing called TikTok. And unlike YouTube, I got views quick. And I was like, is it? I just did that and I got 1,000 views. How does that work?
I need to do this.
I was thinking, I messaged my boss, went, so I'm going to quit soon. I just got 1,000 views on a video in the last 2 days. I don't think you know who I am anymore. So trust me, I was an idiot back then. And then she's like, okay, don't let it get to your head. And then I just sort of went, well, I'll carry on. So did this for a few months, just doing the day in the life of what it's like being at home, being a parent. I didn't really push the teacher stuff. I never promoted I was a teacher. And then in August, I saw a collective group of people called the Teachers of TikTok. I didn't know these people existed. I didn't know there was Teachers of Twitter. They scare me more.
No.
But there are. The Twitter teachers I keep away from. But no, I'm joking. They're all lovely. And there was a thing called Teacher TikTok, and I saw these American teachers do some stuff, and they were saying, "This is for my students. I hope they're well. I miss them." So I just did something about being a teacher and coming back, and then suddenly it kicked off. And then I remember where it really kicked off was in late August. Literally this week it was 2 years ago. And I did a video about wearing masks in school because it was going to be a big thing. And I remember my students and parents and a lot of the children were just like, there's no way we're going to wear masks at school. All right, it's not a good idea. We don't like it. So I did a video where I've just got a mask and I'm sneaking sweets into the mask and anything else that you could put in a mask that students would sneak into a classroom to get one up over the teacher. So I do this and then the teacher looks back, and then anyway, I nearly didn't make the video. The strap on the thing didn't work and it kept slipping off. I thought, oh, this isn't working. Anyway, I did it, posted it, and I got home, and in that one night I hit 1 million views, and I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And I freaked out. I was really nervous. I was like, okay, this is gonna get me some traction. And then suddenly I was up to about 100,000 followers in a couple of weeks' time, and I was like, okay, it's getting a little bit too much traction. I was really quite scared. I even said to my wife, like, should I take the video down? She's like, no, you've worked so hard to kind of push this. You go with it, just go, see what happens. And I came in about 2 weeks later to the school, and there was new students. They were like, what's popping? And that was the sound from the video. And they were going, what's popping, sir? Good idea. And I was like, oh no, don't tell anyone. I said, nah, because I like wearing masks now in class. And I was like, oh, hang on, that's actually turned out better than I thought. And all our students were wearing them. They were sneaking stuff in them, but they were wearing them. So it was great. And it just took off from there. It really did. And I just kept doing teacher stuff from there on in. And it just connected with teachers and students. I mean, one of the TikToks I followed up with was, how do we clean our classroom with students, not just in SEN, but if you're working a reception class, you know what I mean, you know that. Yeah, how on earth are we keeping these guys hygienically going?
You're like, oh, everyone go over here. Oh no.
I mean, first thing reception kids do is they run and want a hug. You're like, all right, you can't touch me. So I did a video about that, and teachers clocked onto it and they said, we love this. This is exactly what we like to see. Like a teacher just saying, like, come on, like, give us a chance to see how this works. And I just started learning quite quickly what is good to relate to teachers, to keep them feeling like you're not alone. And to students as well, like, all the year sixes who missed out on sitting on the benches because of COVID, they couldn't have a school assembly, and they're like, oh, I missed out on that. I said, I know how you feel. And just anything else that started relating. So that's how it all kicked off.
Definitely. I think we can also see from like the children coming into foundation stage now, having missed those 2 years of the social side of things, then they found it particularly difficult with all the speech and language issues coming through. Some of them aren't toilet trained. So yeah, it's been very difficult times, particularly for our early years, I think. And actually with you saying about your the mask video, I don't think some people appreciate the extra issues that children with sensory needs would have actually wearing a mask in comparison to the rest of the population. So I'm pretty sure that your video must have helped a lot of children with those needs think it's actually okay to do so. So that's great.
They did. They were writing messages in their masks. They were hiding exam things in there. Honestly, they were like, who gave this idea? I was like, I literally have no idea, boss. I have no idea. I don't know where they're getting it from. And they're like, I was like, just
Uh,
do it.
so you have to be a bit careful you don't give them too many ideas.
So,
Excellent. So how long does a typical video take to shoot?
right, I think so. To answer this, I really thought about this one. So you have to research what you're going to do. You then have to look for a sound. Sometimes it will just literally jump at you on TikTok. You'll see something and go, that's a good idea. I'll change it into that. So that process takes about 5 to 10 minutes, just the inspiration. Then you get to think about recording. So you take the sound and you think how you're going to chapter the sound, what you're going to do. And then, and I'm really being honest here. If I do a decent TikTok that you'll see occasionally that will hit a viral kind of status, it's because I've worked hard on my expressions. I'm a real stickler for trying to convey emotions. I think the reason I do this is because I work with students with autism, and then I show them the videos and I say, like, do you see the expression I use there? What is that kind of showing? And in TikTok rules, in the land of TikTok, if you want to do a successful TikTok, you've got to do those kind of basic things. So in the first 3 seconds, you've got to really grab someone's attention. You know, you've got really, but it can only be less than 3 seconds. After that, you've got to do something different. And then each scene. So I did a video recently that clocked in over the summer about 8 million views, and it's only lasts for about 10 seconds, but it was all about how I did my expressions. So that video, knowing how to do it, chaptering it, took me around 30 minutes from the whole process of doing that. But I think if you do TikTok to the best of your ability, if you really want to push yourself out, you really got to let yourself your guard drop and put yourself out there. And I worked so hard on my expression. I was thinking, would the teacher react that way? It was all about, by the way, just for a context of how everyone wants to react, as teachers will appreciate this. It's on my top of my TikTok. You can't miss it. And it's basically when one of the trickiest students you've had all for about a couple of years finally leaves the school, and then the teacher comes back in September and their sibling walks in and you're like,
yeah.
okay. And literally, if any teachers out there like sitting there like, yeah, we exactly know where Tommy's going with that. And then I have it now at the school. I'm like, you're sorry, whose brother? Oh, you're his brother. Wicked.
Poker face.
And then I've got some fantastic parents. They're like, I've got 5 of them. I was like, right,
I've taught all 5 of a family once, all 5 kids. So I knew it was time to leave that school after I had done that.
Yeah, but I love them families. I get on really well with those students. I really work well with students with sort of any behavioural difficulties. We do have a lot of good back and forth, and that's how long it takes. But it is a lot of dedication and time. It's also about knowing what's trending, what's not. You know, trying and come up with an idea and a concept that's maybe people don't do or are doing. It's a very mixed bag, and sometimes with TikTok it can be quite brutal. So for instance, this week literally nothing's going out for me, but that's fine because in a couple of weeks time it will. So you just have to ride that and don't let that affect you too much, but occasionally it does. So it does happen.
Excellent. So what do your school leaders think about all this and your colleagues?
It got mixed reactions at the start. I think my boss is just like, I was very honest. When I hit about 10,000 followers, I walked into the school after telling all the senior leadership team and the head teacher.
Did you walk or did you swagger?
I think I was tiptoeing around them.
Right.
Creeping would be the word. I walked in and all I remember is the head teacher at the time said, "Hello, Tommy TikTok," and I literally my back to him, I went, oh God. I went, hello, do I need to go get any like P45 or are we chat? And they literally just like, they're very funny, we approve. I was like, okay, cool, that's good. Okay, because I haven't ever crossed that line, and I think there's a big line where you can cross, and I think it's knowing. And some of the teachers on TikTok I'm really close with, and we have a really great community on there, and we have a WhatsApp group, and sometimes we call each other out and say, ooh, just a little bit. And I've been called out for it, and that's fine. I'll sometimes go, I'm going to suppress that video now. But other times, yeah. So my managers were quite appreciative of it and said, run things past us. I told my safeguarding team as well, because of how popular my live shows got. People coming into there, what do I do? Students wanting to follow me. So my rule was, I can't stop any student following me on that app. It's impossible. Anyone can follow me. But the thing I did was shut down all the messages. Obviously, I don't follow them back. And I made it really clear at the start of the year, like if students called me out on it, I go, okay, so I'm a teacher of TikTok. I do a live show. If you want to watch it, it's up to you. If you follow me, that's entirely up to you, but I do not follow you back. Don't message me, and do not talk about the school, where we're from, or the course, or what your mum got you for lunch today. I will block you. And we have a really good understanding, and they love that. I think they're really good about it. I think the best way to answer though is, that's your question, is my manager's very impressed lately of how I've hooked and worked up with some companies who have actually helped us back. So there's a great company called Big Potato Company, do all these board games for communication confidence lessons that we have at our school, and they gave me a bundle pack of everything that I could never have asked for that normally, and I got that and I was so grateful. And Twinkle gave me some little subscription package for a little bit. So you can imagine when you're telling teachers, I've got the ultimate package at Twinkle, and they're like, how'd you get that, Tommy? TikTok?
Did it
And they're
have
like,
glue sticks in it?
yeah, well, we'll see. They're sending me something. And yeah, and a few other things. So I think my managers have seen that what I've been doing has had a really positive thing about what I can bring to the school without having to mention the school. And then my live shows have been really successful because we talk about revision. I think my safeguarding officer came up to me today and actually said, I saw your live show about how year sevens should start, how they're going to feel and all the anxiety of high school. She said, it was lovely what you did. And you did a GCSE forum a week ago about all the GCSE stress that can come with things. And I said, well, yeah, that's just come up in the live. I do this every week. And they said, so you're really giving back. And so that's nice. And then I think the biggest one was the parents. So the students would follow me, but then the parents started following me, and it was like, oh, I don't know how this is going to go, but they loved it. And I think my managers also want to know I was keeping a good balance. So family and work complete first. You have to make sure family's all in good check, in order and happy. Work is up to date, schema learning. If they're coming into a lesson and they're not happy with it, TikTok is a back burner. Hasn't happened yet, but start of the year, I'm concentrating more on my work, making sure my kids are getting ready, going back to school. My wife and I are transitioning back to normality, because that's that weird feeling when you've had a summer off and I've been at home being able to do stuff, and she's, like things have been happening at home better, smoothly, so all that stuff. And then you go TikTok. So, and I think I've got that balance. And I think that's what my managers appreciate. And it's really nice when my boss goes, oh, this is Tommy. We call him Tom here, but you might know him from, and they're like, oh yeah, we love it. So it's lovely how they appreciate it. And yeah, I think I've got it down to a T now. So I'm really proud of that.
Excellent. So has your day-to-day teaching changed at all as a result? Because you were saying about the expressions earlier, and I know that when I started videoing my lessons as a teacher, I realised I wasn't really smiling very much. And actually, it's quite a bit of a revelation. And yeah, since doing all the Zoom stuff, I've realised a lot more about my facial expression. So how's that helped you in your day-to-day teaching?
Yeah, again, we tried to go online for a little bit, and then we did, yeah. And I was making more of a note of my expressions and things. I think one of the best ways I've used what I do on social media is with my students when we talk about social media. And there's no one better to talk about it than a teacher who's got a fair few followers, who can occasionally will get a troll, occasionally will get caught up in an algorithm battle, occasionally will publish a video, and there might be some discrepancy or whatever. And I just ping up on the board, and my students love it. I go, so what's it like to be trolled? Does anyone know? Instead of going to like some YouTube clip with some guy, a guy in his, and I don't want to say any age here, but someone who's never used social media before going, today I'm going to read you a PowerPoint about social media. And I'm like, they don't like it. So I go, here you go, let's read this comment when I got trolled a few weeks ago. Here's my reaction. This is what I did. This is how I reported it. So they like it. It's great when I'm doing like drama lessons as well, because I teach drama, and I go, okay, so the students like, do that expression you did in that TikTok. So I'm like, yeah, exactly. We could use that as an example. And then they want to make them. And I think it's that fearlessness of saying, do you know what, guys, when you hit a certain age in life, you just, your filters change. You don't care anymore. You just do it and have fun. Have a go, try these things out. I think the final thing, which is a big pointer that we're all going through right now with young people, is they all want to be YouTubers. They all want to be bloggers. They all want to be podcasters.
Yep.
They want to be fantasy football.
I've got a 10-year-old who wants to be some sort of influencer.
Gamers. So all the gaming things they want to talk about. My daughter said that she wanted to do like a Roblox podcast thing. And I was like, okay, that is now the new thing. If for me, it was downloading the UK top 40 on an old cassette recorder, pressing record, and pretending to be a DJ, right? Trying to skip out the bit where Chris Mills or Scott Mills are going to talk over it.
That was really annoying, yeah.
Things have changed. So I say to my students, I've got 1.8 million on TikTok, I've got 100,000 on Instagram, and a few fair more coming up on this. And what's my main job? I'm a teacher. So keep your feet right flat on the floor and cement them. I said the main thing you want to do is have a hobby. Have it as a hobby. So any job that you want to go, any course you want to do, focus on that course, focus on your GCSEs, focus on your A-levels, whatever. But do not think you're just going to have one video and become some sensation. It doesn't work that way. it really doesn't. And I think that's actually been quite a big thing for my students, especially with autism. They've got a real fixation on things like,
Oh, you've just muted.
this isn't what you think it is. It's a great fun thing to do, but to a point. So that's another reason I've used it to help out in my school and what I do.
Excellent. I know from my experience since going self-employed over the past year that actually putting myself out there on social media and being my authentic self, I'm 41. So, I haven't really done this before, and knowing how to be online is a real hit and miss thing. So it's like, how much emotion do you put into your post? How much sharing do you do about yourself and your good or bad school experiences? So it's certainly a fine line. So just thinking then about teachers in general, how do you feel that your channel is helping teachers get through the year?
I think I love that question. I think it's saying you're not alone. Basically, you're not alone. We all go through the same thing, believe it or not. I think I really tried to put myself out to NQTs, and I'll tell you why, because they leave. They leave after a year, don't they? I don't have the statistics for it, but I just get this vibe in the world that I know in America it's happening. There's a big teacher crisis right now. And I think my main message is to say to people is one of the best jobs to be a teacher. But if you've signed up for the pay and you've signed up for a lifetime of praise, then you're in the wrong job, okay? Because there's days where you're not going to get a super amount of praise. You're expected to do this stuff. It's a tough old thing, and your bosses, they love you to bits, but do you know what? They just there's a point where they're going to expect you to do it. And there's the other side of like, you're not going to make that much money. You're not going to be a global megastar of money, and you're not going to rock up in a Porsche unless your other partner is doing all right. But
marry well.
yeah, doing very well. But I think the main thing is that you are not alone, and students' behaviors are like this. And especially when there's like a current sound on TikTok where students are walking in going like, very good, very nice, or they're going hiya or anything like that, and teachers go, oh, my students are doing it all the time. And I think the favorite thing I like is when you when I make the TikToks, a lot of the teachers are seeing some weird trends and like comments and things I'll come up with. I've not come up with, they're actual things that students are saying, and then I actually tell them what it means. So then when they're in their class, they're like, so that's what that means. I was like, yeah, don't let them say that word. Like on Kahoots, for instance, which I keep clean. But if students put certain words like, it was a big one called, I better not say on here. But anyway, there was words and names
this
they were
saying. This is an adult
saying.
audience, so it's not so bad.
Okay, but they were saying things like, and I'm not going to go into what that meant. You can all look it up. But like Candice and Ligma was like things that all the students are putting on Kahoots. And I was like, guys, you can take them off. I'm not. Come on, you know what I do for a living, right? I know exactly what this. And I was telling my other teacher, so they kept putting ligma. I don't know what ligma meant. I went, did they ask you
to Google it later?
So I was like, which class is it? I'm gonna go talk to them. And then so the teachers then on TikTok seeing me put this stuff up, and they're like, so that's what they've been writing. Oh no, I've got an Ofsted soon. I better not let them do it. I was like, take that down now. Like, oh, okay, gotcha. So I think it's just fun. Like, it's to say that you're going to make mistakes. And my other favorite thing is I like to support the teachers who've been there for so long, just to say you're one of the best people going. I mean, if you're a teacher and you've been teaching for 30, 40 years, you're incredible. Like, there's something about you that I don't think everyone thinks, oh, you're stuck in your ways. You're not. You've got more resilience than anyone else. And we need to learn from you how you kept going. I mean, you've got teachers that have been doing it for 34 years who've been through some crisis, recessions and all sorts and strikes. I mean, what's going on now in our country happened back in the 70s and the 80s, so I'm told, and they're still there. So I just try to make it relatable and say, this is what it's like. You're not alone. We'll go through the same stuff, believe it or not. And I think that's just a big welcome relief. And that's what some of my teachers like about it. So, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, having taught for 20 years and sort of made my escape then, that, I feel like I got to the point where there's probably not much I haven't seen.
No, exactly.
So, yeah, very relatable.
No, exactly. So, yeah.
So how have your extracurricular activities supported your mental health?
What, as in doing TikTok and things? Yeah, I think just who I've connected with. I've met so many other teachers at TikTok, and through that we were talking about how we were getting on during lockdown, possibly one of the toughest time for any teacher. And I think, again, I'd go back to, if you're an NQT and you started your year during the COVID pandemic, you're just thinking that's not a normal year.
You're not really that qualified, are you?
But even the experienced teachers weren't qualified, so it kind of puts on an even level. And I remember watching a fantastic TikTok about the newly qualified teacher who knew all the tech, and a senior teacher who didn't. But they were like, I tell you what, shall we be allies for this? And like, yes, I think we should be allies. And it was such a good way of using it. And I was like, this is how it should be. So extracurriculum stuff, it's just been able to meet new teachers of TikTok. I've actually done a meetup with them, and that was a good one. Again, another example to my students about e-safety. It's like, so sir, you met up with people from you met online. I was like, yes, let's discuss that. How did I go about doing that in a safe way, knowing what I'm doing, all that? And again, that was just another discussion. So I think it was just nice to make a TikTok with the family at the time. I used to make stuff for my kids, so we would reenact Matilda scenes, which I love. It's good literature, obviously Roald Dahl's finest, and we all love the film. The original Matilda is great, and I think it was just posting it and then seeing people enjoy it. It didn't get like the traction I get now. It was just low level views, but it's just great seeing the comments saying, "Oh, it's really nice seeing people do stuff." And the wonderful thing about TikTok and a lot of other things, but TikTok, you could find some really good ideas, to keep yourself occupied during lockdown or games and stuff. And the teachers would share their activities that they were doing. And you were like, oh, I use that for my school. And I was like, where'd you get that from? I was like, oh, I just come up with myself, yeah, it's brilliant. So I think, yeah, overall, it's the community in which I've built on here. And yeah, it just makes me feel really positive about doing it.
And I guess
great.
like anything creative, I mean, first and foremost, you're actually doing it for yourself, because you've got creativity in you. Like I write for myself. If I get an audience, that's even better. It's kind of a bonus, because as long as one person has a look and thinks it's okay, then that's kind of enough for me, really. So yeah, any audience is a bonus, and just to be able to sort of, I guess, relax in some ways with the creativity. So if you're anything like me, you get like 100 ideas a minute, you have to get them all down on paper, and you can't rest until they're there.
I'm always getting the notes from my phone. I'm like, quick, I need to jot that down. And especially the TikTok ideas, like, oh, that's such a good. If a student says something to me, I'm like, that's gold. And they're like, we know what you're doing. Like, nothing, just carry on.
I have to remember to go back though on my phone and remember what I've written. So I periodically double check. So I've got this list of blogs that I need to write.
You're like, what's that? What do I mean by that? Oh yeah. So totally understand where you're coming from. Yeah.
Oh, well, there's no shortage of stuff to write on teacher wellbeing, that's for sure.
No, my goodness.
So what wellbeing tips would you give your colleagues in the teaching profession for this year?
Right, so I was actually reading one of your articles that you had about disconnecting and connecting again. I think that was a really good one about over the summer holidays. So I like that article. But I think this is now, for me, the official restart year. I know last year kind of was, but I felt there was still like gaps where we having time off and stuff. And I think it's now a year that the country's kind of gone, well, we have COVID, but I don't know about you guys. I kind of feel like that's like such an old subject now. I know it's going on. I know people are passing from it. It's awful, but there's so many other things that happen now. And I feel like it's our first year again, going back into what was some sort of normality. But now what's going on with the global crisis is something that is quite a concern, and nationally, sorry, I should say, about money and things like that. And I think it is going to be one of these things for me where I was talking to my colleague today, I think you either take it day by day or week by week, because I generally don't know what next month's going to be like. And I keep thinking about October, and apparently all the bills are going to go up by then. I think it is just, you're going to have to take it week by week, and don't, go immerse yourself so heavily, so quickly, and get overtired. And, and we all know what it's like, that first few weeks back is just such a big adjustment. So I think just taking a step back and reminding of yourself some of the good things that you did over the summer, maybe like some breathing techniques, or just having a nice sort of cup of tea whenever you got that break to have one, or just talking to someone and actually saying how you're feeling today. I think we start getting some wonderful habits over the summer, and we feel so much better. And you're like, wonder why. And like the basics of making sure you do actually switch off. So yeah, okay, you might work till about 7, but switch that thing off, and maybe turn your phone off at 9, and turn the Wi-Fi off, and watch a program until 10, and then go to bed at a decent time. So I think it's just take it very slowly, week by week. Don't look at the big term and go, oh, we've got 7 weeks here, another 7 weeks there. We've got all these functions to do, or we've got the Christmas production to do. I think, yeah, that's just, I know it's such a simple thing, but I would just literally take it slow and just go with the flow of what it's going to be like, because I know the pandemic's over, but what's coming, I think, is going to be a big one. I'm concerned about students not being able to come in, parents not being able to afford school dinners, dinner lady. I watched a recent article about a dinner lady finding it really tough to turn down students and not give them food. I mean, this is going to be one of the strangest times we've ever been in, and a tough time for everyone. I think it's about coming together even more so than we've ever done before as teachers, and support our students as much as we possibly can, because I think you're going to find teachers who can't afford to get into work sometimes, maybe on petrol or something like that. I don't know how it is for everyone else, but we're not turning the heating on this year. We're going to get
No,
lots of quilts
you can
and
get some like some giant hoodie things, some Uzis or something you can buy.
snoods,
Yeah.
and
So yeah, we're just going to get that. Gonna hunt
Slankets are going to be
cats.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I might wear one in class and say, you know, when the schools run out of money to keep you warm, so you'll wear our snoods and slankets. If I could get like 26 slankets ordered for free on an advert, I'll do my best. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be a
I
great
think
video.
I think I would be. I think everyone would be quite crazy. But yeah, simple advice really. I take it week by week, and don't overload yourself with so much. And especially with NQTs, there's always that expectation you have to be like the big impact, and you've got to impress everyone. I mean, you've got no one to impress. You don't have to impress anyone. You've got there. You've done it. Like take your time. You know, if you're starting in teaching as well, doing your PGC or whatever, take your time. Just really take it easy, because it's going to be a long year. So yeah.
And actually, you know, living in the present is kind of one of those top things for mindfulness practices anyway, because we are too much looking ahead to what's coming, and we just forget to see like the beauty and the wonder in what's around us. And you know, and also add to that as well, like thinking about things to be grateful for every day is a really good practice as well, just to sort of wake up and think, well, I'm glad I am actually in a house, you know, I'm glad I have food, even though if we're thankful for those little things, then that always helps as well with the big picture.
I like that. My colleague said that to me today. I was moaning about something on my course, and they were like, well, you've got a lovely family and this is going on, this is going on. I was like, yeah, actually rein it in, Tom, you know, rein it in. There's some lovely things going on around you. I think also, if you're like the seasons like I do, I love autumn. I mean, it's like the smell of autumn is amazing, and all the leaves and then the rain and the fresh air and things like that. It's quite a nice time sensory wise. So, you know, I talk to my students about it as well. Like, let's just go out, enjoy that kind of, you know, split up the classroom. Why do you have to do it indoors? Go outside, enjoy that kind of thing. So
yeah, I'm a walker and a climber, so I'll spend a lot of time in the outdoors. I love it.
Oh, there you go then. Oh, right, that's great. That's good to hear.
So, I mean, last question then. Where's the channel going next?
Oh, I get asked this a lot. I still don't really know. It's always been quite organic in the sense that I just go with the flow. Lots of people tell me, so all the teachers at TikTok say, well, you could do this and you could do this. And a couple of my friends are like, you could just quit. I went, no, you really couldn't just quit. It doesn't work that way. I think I tell you what I really want to do. I haven't spoken to anyone really properly about this, like how to go about it. So I'd like to set up my own merchandise, but with a bit of a twist. So I'd like to have merch that I would be absolutely, you know, super useful for school. There's, you know, I'm not talking about giving teachers like that naughty fidget spinner that everyone doesn't want to have in their class. I'm talking about just the basics of stuff, really nice design, Tommy TikTok stuff, but then a percentage goes into like an autistic charity, an autism charity, or something for like a Down syndrome charity, anything like that where it can actually support people, maybe even like something towards food banks or something like that. So I would really like to do some merch where it's like a sort of a split between where the profits go, and make it sort of, I think that's what I've always been, you know. I don't know if you know all the ins and outs of TikTok, but there's a lot of monetization on there where it's kind of frowned upon, you know, where people gift things, and I'm always like, you don't have to gift me. And I'm thinking, oh, if I could have a little pot to put that in and to prove it, that'd be great. So I think where I go next would be, yeah, be like to do some merchandise. I think that would be quite a good thing to do. And I don't know after that. I think I just go with the flow. A lot of my friends like, you could do an interview on telly. I was like, well, I like doing these interviews as well, actually. It's just nice. I think what I really enjoy is when I get asked things from yourself and other. I think I had a mental health well-being discussion with my local football club, Norwich City Football Club, and their members. And that was an amazing one as well. Just, you know, I'm obviously doing something right for people wanting to chat to me. And yeah, like I said, likes of Twinkle and stuff like that, you know, they're all big educating companies, aren't they? So that's where it's going. I think just more interviews and spreading a good word, especially with mental health, because I think it's something that because of lockdown people are talking about more. So if I can do anything like that, it feels great. But yeah, I'm not looking for stardom. I'm not looking to get verified. I'm not looking for any of that stuff. I'm a teacher at the end of the day. I know my worth. I know what I'm doing. So just happy what I'm doing. I think if I changed it now, I think I'll put more stress on myself. So
well, also, I mean, you've got kids at the heart of it, haven't you? So, and that's, you know, what we want to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally true as well. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I reckon you could do a really good branded blanket kind of, or giant hoodie.
That
scenario
might be a
for the
thing.
winter. That could be your first thing.
It's actually a really good shout. I'll look into. I'll talk to my management.
I'd buy one.
Fair enough. That's good.
I
All right,
think
that's the
it's
one.
interesting though, isn't it? Because actually schools are really poor, and I think we forget as teachers how much money there actually is in the world if you know where to find it. I think
Yeah.
since going self-employed, on a teacher salary, you're kind of capped, aren't you? Whereas, if someone offered me sort of £250 to write an article last week, and this is like money I can only dream of, So it's interesting how, even teachers leaving the profession don't quite understand that there is more money out there to be earned, and you are kind of capped. And yeah, we're a little bit we don't know our own worth as a profession. I don't
No,
think,
I mean,
and the
the
skills that
thing.
we have.
That's the thing. Teachers have individual skills. So you could be a great artist. So you can, why not make some art where you're doing portraits or something for people on a function or a wedding or say something, I don't know. Yeah, or media skills or sports skills, or like go run a yoga club or do well-being sort of things like that. So you're right. I think that's another thing. Some of the teachers see what I've been doing and go, oh, so you do that, that's your thing. Yeah. Oh, well, I've been doing jewelry making. I was like, well, good for you. Do you selling it? Great. Yeah, good for you. Make sure you pay the tax man, that's what you should be doing. So, but apart from that, yeah, I think that's a really good advice actually. I think, yeah, look into that because it is capped. I know I can only go so far now, and then the next stage is management. Management moves around too quickly where I'm from, so I'm like, no, I'm good. But I wouldn't be in the classroom. I think they know that with me, so I'm never gonna really go. So we'll see. But yeah, it's great. I just think that's a good point though.
Exciting times. Just enjoy the ride, I think, is a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
way to
too.
be.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for talking to me today. It's been really good fun. So
No,
glad you
thank
could
you.
join me.
No, thanks very much. I was going to ask you actually, like, what
Yeah.
generally do you think would be your best advice for me that now, like in September and stuff, like what you think is because you've done this as well now. I was thinking, it's always good to hear your point from like all that. But yeah, no, whatever you would say.
Well, I mean, I would say that well-being is all about the individual person, and everyone's got their own control over their own
Mm,
well-being. So ultimately, if you are not happy with your work-life balance or where you are, then you are the only person who can do anything about that. So whether that's setting better boundaries where you work, or if you cannot do that because actually the climate isn't conducive to that, then you need to look outside of that climate and to either
mm,
leave the profession or try a different school, because there's so many amazing schools out there that
yeah, right.
people are not working in because actually they're stuck in a school that's beating them down with their well-being, and they feel stuck. But I think before leaving the profession, I think people should always try to work somewhere different. And also, if you've got a school where the well-being is not great, then that climate of change is really important. So it's getting those messages as a collective to the senior leaders that this is not good enough and things need to change. And I think part of my work is trying to sort of pincer movement, really. So bottom up and top down, if you like. So I'm trying to get the
Good.
senior leaders to try and see that actually good well-being creates happy teachers, creates happy children, creates good outcomes. And whereas the teachers need to be thinking, well, actually, I'm the one in control of everything. And, I don't need somebody else to tell me how to do my well-being because I'm the one that should lead it. So
Yeah.
that's me in a nutshell.
That's pretty empowering. I might take that one to work
You have
tomorrow. You never
it.
guess what, we've got the power. No, I like that. I'm lucky. We've got we've got an outstanding well-being kind of thing. I think though, with every school environment you're in, I think you just sometimes can be tired, stretched too much. I mean, because of COVID, people being off, and it's really get you. I think definitely around Christmas time we all feel it.
Yeah.
That's like, for me, that's the big one. And then that feeling when you come back in January, I struggle with. So definitely, I think that's really good advice. Actually, I love the fact that you pincer it. I think that's really good.
Just this middle section I haven't quite met.
Well, I think the middle section sounds like the impact, and also like one thing I was going to say is when you were saying then was that the attendance would be up. So you're going to
Yes,
find that teachers want to come in, and if they're enthusiastic and happy to come in, then they're going to produce that in their lessons.
definitely.
You can just sometimes see it in a teacher's face, like they're just not wanting to be here right now, but they're here, but they're not really present.
Yeah, I think
So
the leaders have been, I mean, more recently. So a shelf life of a teacher is on average 5 years at the moment. So that means that people are getting promoted too early into positions they have no training for. So that's not very
Mm,
helpful. And
no.
also leaders with the Ofsted agenda are working towards what Ofsted want, not actually what's best for everybody. So I think if leaders were more into what was best for the children and not what Ofsted want, then they'd give Ofsted what they would want anyway.
Yeah, it just come naturally.
Yeah.
I think I agree again. Every time when you hear Ofsted, you think, oh, what are they going to say? Especially when we obviously I can't talk about Ofsted. It went very well. We're very lucky, good Ofsted. But I think when they were coming in, my guard was really up, and I was like, if they're going to ask me how I coped during lockdown or what we did, I was ready with some things to say. I was like, oh no, don't do it, don't do it. You know, you're representing the school, and it's not the time. But I think I did feel like at the time, just not where I work, but for some teachers, like where were they during that pandemic to give that advice and support people? But it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. And I think, like I said, we're lucky we had good management and we were okay. But I think other schools didn't, and I think people felt like they were just, yeah, like you said, like you just said so perfectly. So yeah, that's really good advice. That is. I like the pincer thing. That's great.
They make some crab merch now.
Love it.
Excellent. Brilliant. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing your next video. So I'll be following along and checking out what you're doing next. So thank you so much for being with me.
No, it's fine. It should all be back to school stuff. Hopefully TikTok sorted himself out once everyone's watching this. Like, what is he on about? It's fine. But yeah, sometimes it does that. But it should be back to school stuff and back to school vibes. So hopefully people enjoy it from both sides, perspectives from students and teachers alone. So yeah, so it should be good.
Okay, thank you. And I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you. Yeah, cheers.